Joining us now, I haven't talked to him for 2 days. And it's like, I got up today and I'm like, I haven't talked to Curtis for 2 days. It's like, where's Curtis? Oh, he's been busy. He's been in Phoenix doing rallies. But he's with us now. Curtis Ellis, for those of you that don't know him, he's a senior policy advisor with America First Policies. And that is the number one political action committee that is supporting President Trump's America First agenda. Prior to that, he was with the Trump campaign, like me, from the beginning. He was on the transition team. He was a senior executive with the Department of Labor. He's been to Geneva. He's been all over the world. He's going to Israel. And he's also my good friend. And we've been fighting the trade battle with the open border free trade Pavlov dog cheap labor slave trade network weasels for 30 years. Curtis, great to have you with us.
Weasels ripped our flesh for years.
They really did.
But now we've got our boot on their neck.
Oh, God, it's a beautiful
Donald Trump
thing.
has his boot on the neck of the international open borders slave trade weasels.
I know. And we just had on, I got to tell you this, Curtis, I know you're busy. You're packing. You got to go to Israel for the big.
No, never too busy for John. Let me tell you, a day without John Fredericks is a day without sunshine. So everybody, you keep tuning in. You know, John, I think we should do a live broadcast together from your new affiliate.
Yes. You want to come to Jacksonville, right?
Absolutely. Jacksonville's great. Maybe we can do it at Ponte Vedra Beach. Ponte Vedra, beautiful stretch of beach there north of Jacksonville. My gosh, it's gorgeous. It's been 45 years since I was there. I'm sure it hasn't changed a whit in that time.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set that up, and here's what I'm going to coordinate it with and make you part of it. Corey Lewandowski, who is rumored to be going to the White House very soon, former campaign manager for Trump, is coming to Jacksonville to do an event in May. I just set up 5 minutes ago. I got it done. And he's going to give a speech, and you're going to be able to get his book and all that. And so I'm going to get you there for those 2 days. We'll go to Ponte Vedra Beach. We'll do the show together. We'll go to the Lewandowski event. What do you think?
I love it. Great.
Right?
I'm there.
I'm going to take care of you, man. I take
Book
care of
it,
my man.
Dano.
Get Dano. We'll get Dano to come. Curtis Ellis.
Yeah, get Dano to come. I don't know where he is or who he is, but...
Now, are you going to, before we get to all the stuff of today, Curtis Ellis with Senior Policy Advisor, America First Policies, are you going to get with us when you're in Israel, in Jerusalem? Are you going to call in for that big day?
I'm not. I'm going to be back before then. It's like I'm going to the party, but I'm leaving before the party starts. You know,
What?
I'm going to Israel, but I won't be there on the 70th anniversary. I'm coming back on the 10th.
Oh, you're coming back on the
Your
10th.
dear friend Martha, our dear friend Martha Bonetta, will be there for the actual 70th anniversary of the founding of the State of Israel.
I think she's there for like 3 weeks
I'm
or something.
going for an abbreviated trip because I've got some other pressing business here in America, but I'll be happy to call in the meantime. Say, here I am at Gaza, looking at a tunnel under the fence or whatever.
Yeah, you can do
I'm
that.
in Hebron. They're throwing stones at me.
Call in next week from the Gaza Strip.
That's it. We're actually going to the Gaza Strip Club, which is outside Tel Aviv, but that's another story. But no.
Don't call me from there.
I won't call you from there. No.
I think Stormy Daniels is going there, though. She's having a special event.
That's right. She's
the
there.
Gaza Strip Club.
She's there with Rudy.
So let's just talk about this very quickly. So Rudy Giuliani last night, as you know, goes on Sean Hannity and says, look, this is all out in the open. Everybody knew about it. The president might have known about it. But the bottom line is no laws were broken.
Right.
And so it gets down to the president, when asked about whether he knew about the $130,000 he's on the Air Force One, he said no. So what does this all mean?
It means nothing. It means this is what you hire lawyers to do. You say, deal with it, solve the problem, and then and then they solve the problem. Now, this is what Rudy said subsequently to the Wall Street Journal, and he put it in its proper context, and it sounds reasonable to me. Is he told Cohen to deal with it, or maybe he didn't even have to, because these two men have worked together for decades, right? So maybe, I'm just speculating now, maybe Cohen gets a call from Stormy's lawyer or from Stormy and says, hey, I'm thinking about telling this story. And Cohen leaps into action and says, let's come to terms that you wouldn't. What would it take for you not to tell the story? Perfectly legal, done every day. And they come to an agreement. And he, this is in the middle of battle, right? October 2016, right before the election. Boom, boom, boom. Things are flying fast and furious. You deal with them. And so he signs the papers. He does the deal. The money changes hands, whatever. Bitcoin gets wired. Who knows how they did it? Gold bullion gets deposited in a suitcase in a back alley. Whatever. All perfectly legal.
Right.
And that's why you have lawyers to do this. And I assume she reported it to the IRS, so, no problem there. But that's her problem. And then he tells, afterwards, he says, by the way, boss, I did this thing and I paid this money. And the president says, you did what? She should have paid me. That was the best sex she ever had. How dare you give her money? I'm making this up now, folks. Who knows what the conversation was?
Right.
Maybe he said, that's crazy. Couldn't you gotten it for less? Or maybe you should have given her more. And it's like, I had to mortgage my house to do it, boss. Okay, here's the money. I'll pay you back. I'm not happy about it, though. Don't ever let that happen again. Who knows what the conversation was, right?
Right.
So it's very possible, very likely, that this guy dealt with it in the heat of the moment and then afterwards told the boss how he dealt with it. The boss may or may not have been happy about it, probably had to take a crowbar to him to open up his wallet to pay him back. Because you don't become a billionaire by spending money frivolously, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Any billionaires I've known, any rich people, even thousandaires that I've known, they're the last one to pick up a check or pay for the cab.
All right, so the question is, look, he didn't do anything.
And none of it's illegal. It's all perfectly legal.
There's no illegal. It was all legal.
So here's what it means, if I may.
Yes.
What it means is that the press, the media, is again lazy. They don't want to talk about the important stuff facing the country. They don't want to inform their readers and their listeners and their viewers about the issues and the important business that it takes to be a self-governing democracy, or republic as it is, but I use the word democracy in its non-technical term. For us to govern ourselves, we must be informed, and we must be informed about the issues that matter: the economy, the world affairs, who's taking our jobs, who's getting our jobs, who's stealing our jobs, and who is, what criminals are doing, and how does the economy work? How do you have socialism or capitalism, or what mix of it, or corporatism? And I could just go on and on. They don't ever want to talk about that. They don't, because they're lazy. It's much easier to talk about adult film stars. It's much easier to talk about, and all of this proceeds, all of the coverage of the Trump presidency proceeds from the assumption that Donald Trump should not be president, and we are going to find the thing that's going to take him out. And see, so every vice is hidden behind virtue, right? So they claim they are virtuously telling us important facts about this man, Donald J. Trump. But in fact, it's a vice. They are lazy. They are slothful. They just don't want to do the job, and they're salacious. They would rather deal with titillating details of titillating film stars and anything else other than the important business of what they should be doing, because they have been granted this important exemption and this important protection called the First Amendment, freedom of the press, because the assumption was they would use their time and energy and the brains that God gave them to inform people about important stuff, because we don't want to rely on the government to tell us what's going on, and we don't want to just the way we don't want to rely on the government to feed us and clothe us. We're supposed to be self-governing people. So But they don't want to do that. Just the way for years before Donald Trump, the press, they never reported on issues. They always reported on when it comes to politics. They never talked about the issues that being debated in Congress. They always talked about who's raising more money, who's ahead in the polls.
Right. Well, look, I agree with everything you're saying, but we have to get to one thing, which is the only thing that is even in this conversation that makes it relevant, and that is the question that he was asked on Air Force One, and he answered no. I'm going to read you a text here by Rollin in Virginia. Rollin says, nobody has mentioned the business case for protecting the Trump organization's brand by paying the porn actress to go away. Billion-dollar companies settle accusations all the time because they don't want negative publicity. He goes on to say Michael Cohen is his business attorney. He's been dispatching this stuff for years. We elected a businessman. Makes sense, right?
It sure does. And, that gets to another point here, which a larger point that I love to make these larger points, folks, which is that this is what businessmen do all the time. And you see that time and time again with the way Donald Trump has worked. And then you see it in the way they approach the political press, approaches and covers and writes about and talks about Donald Trump when it comes to the presidency. They have. I noticed this during the transition and during the campaign when it's like, well, he's got a conflict of interest. He owns a hotel in Washington. Oh my gosh! And then he's got businesses around the world. Oh my gosh! There's a conflict of interest. He's going to have foreign policy He's going to do the foreign policy to help his hotel in Azerbaijan or something like that. Basically, what the unstated premise here, the assumption, the unstated assumption and the premise of their whole slanted coverage is that if you followed what they're saying to its logical conclusion, the only people qualified to be in government are people who've always been in government or academia and therefore have no conflicts of interest. Their idea of conflict of interest is what we call life and living. Right? If you followed what they said, no business person could ever, or anybody who had one share of stock in any company could ever be allowed to be in government because they would have a potential conflict of interest. So you do what business people do, and suddenly it becomes this indictable offense, indictable ethics violation. And that's an example. Look, people in business pay off, to use a crude term, pay off people to defend their reputation all the time. You have sealed, non-disclosure agreements and sealed settlements. It happens all the time.
It happens all the time. It just isn't a big deal. So I've only got 20 seconds. On the Air Force One, the president asked, did you know about this? He said no. Is that an issue?
No, of course not.
Why?
People, look, did you know about it? When? That's the issue. When? Did he know about it before Michael Cohen signed a check, wrote a check? He may well not have known about it when Michael Cohen wrote the check. Did he know about it 6 weeks later when Michael Cohen said, and when they're cleaning up after a fast, furious, and filthy campaign? Right. And Michael Cohen came to him and said, by the way, boss, I got this little thing. It's called $130,000.
Yeah, because
he
really
could make me whole on that.
When he said great. No, he might have interpreted the question as, when did you know about it? And was that, during it was payment? I got to go. We're out of time. Curtis Ellis going to Israel. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Curtis, great to have you